So Sonos did not launch anything new in the year of 2025. But it did kind of release the Era 100 Pro for professional installers for use in commercial setups in January, and they were focusing on the software updates and AI features such as the AI-powered speech enhancement for the Arc, and a new firmware update just recently released, and they've been releasing firmware updates with minor updates over the months. Now, the company also saw some significant leadership changes where the appointment for Tom Conrad, the new CEO, was confirmed, right? Because he was appointed in January as the interim CEO, but now he is the full-fledged permanent CEO. And looking ahead, any new hardware launches are expected to resume around the second quarter of fiscal year 2026. Now, we need to talk about fiscal year because as consumers, we see calendar years. We don't see fiscal years. So what is actually a fiscal year and what is Sonos fiscal year? So as consumers, we are promised at least 2 hardware launches per year, and that was the previous CEO. So when Tom Conrad took over, it kind of like maybe he didn't make the promise, so he doesn't have to keep it. Now, to us, 2025, we didn't see any new major hardware launches because the Sonos Arc Ultra and the Sub 4 was actually launched in the month of October 2024. But Sonos is being vague about it because Sonos now has the flexibility to turn around and say, hey, we were talking about fiscal year. Were you thinking calendar years? No, we were talking fiscal year all along. So Sonos fiscal year is very different from a calendar year. And when does it start? When does it end? Did Sonos launch anything meaningful in the 2025 fiscal year or calendar year? Now let me clear the air for you today, and you can decide if you're going to be buying anything from Sonos this coming gifting season and the holiday seasons coming up. So the fiscal year for Sonos ends on the Saturday closest to the 30th of September. And whichever day it is, it differs from year to year. For the fiscal year of 2025, it actually ended on the 27th of September. When did it start? It started on the 29th of September because the fiscal year of 2024 ended 28th of September 2024. So if you think about fiscal year, then yes, Sonos did launch the Sub Ultra and the Sub 4 in the fiscal year of 2025. So can they kind of get away with it? Yeah, kind of, because, well, it is still within the fiscal year. But what about the fiscal year of 2026? Based on the end of fiscal year 2025, which is 27th of September, meaning to say we are in October and we are in a brand new fiscal year of 2026 for Sonos. And so far, in the 1 month, 2 month, 1.5 months since, they have not launched anything. Well, the year is still kind of young, but Sonos did come in and say that they will not be launching any new hardware until at least Q2 of the fiscal year 2026. And that will mean that it is from the January of 2026 onwards, which for us mere mortals, we are consumers, we will think of it as the new year of 2026. So based on the fiscal year, Sonos did launch 2 new products in the fiscal year of 2025. So they can kind of get away with it. So now we've gotten the fiscal year and the calendar year definition out of the way. Let's think a little bit about what is potentially in the pipeline for Sonos. So Sonos has already come out and said that, look, they're not going to be launching anything new within the Q1 of 2026, meaning to say you will not get anything new in time for Christmas. If you want anything from Sonos, it's going to be in January of 2026 onwards. That is the Q2. So we've gotten a couple of inkling on the products that they're going to be launched. I think the first one being the Beam Gen 3. The second likely one will be the Amp version 2, the Gen 2 of the Amp, which drives any passive speakers that you have. And Pinewood. Pinewood is the TV streamer which has been leaked out for so long, and at this point in time, it kind of sounds like it's vaporware. It's not going to launch. Well, they did shelve it and they did can the product launch. So I think they have been working on it. Maybe they're just focused on fixing what is wrong with the software, both the firmware as well as the S2 app, which was such a big deal last year. So can we say that Sonos kind of did that right for us in the year of 2025? Well, I would say probably. The app itself now, it is kind of smooth. And you know, for a very long time, I never had the software update the firmware of the speakers flawlessly for years. But you know, this year, the last couple of updates has been smooth, everything went through. So the app is shaping up to be kind of like, maybe it is already fixed and it is no longer broken. In the last update, I think in August, they tried to fork out the software so that the legacy players will have one firmware version and the newer players will have another firmware version. The newer ones will be your Arc Ultra, the Sub Gen 3, Gen 4, which has higher capacity, bandwidth for Wi-Fi, which has Bluetooth, which has higher CPU processing capability, more memory, more storage. So these kind of things, they've got to move on. Sonos is a 20-year-old company. You can't be supporting those that is based on 128 megabytes of memory, can you? So Tom Conrad and the entire Sonos team is fixed on a couple of things. First is the CEO transitioning, which, you know, he brings about some clout to the play and he is showing some form of leadership. So Tom Conrad and he's firm about things. He says he wants things fixed before launching anything new. I respect him for that, but come on, we are losing a little bit of steam. I have been releasing a lot less videos because I don't get the twice a year hardware update that we are so used to in the last couple of years anymore. So the strategy has shifted and they are focused on stabilizing the app and enhancing the voice, the AI functionalities. So hardware releases kind of slow, right? And they have also mentioned price increases because, you know, if Sonos, depending on where they are being produced, I didn't research on that, but there is going to be a price increase because of the Trump tariffs. So no Beam Gen 3, no potential Sub Mini Gen 2, no Sonos M Gen 2, and definitely no Pinewood streamers. Now, if you ask me, what do I want? I kind of don't need a Sub Mini Gen 2 because if you think about the Sub Gen 1, 2, 3, 4, they didn't bring about much performance between the generations, right? So if you think about what they can do for the Sub Mini, I don't think they're going to do a lot more. The M is not an all-in-one solution. If you buy the Sonos M, even if they do launch a new Gen 2, you're still going to be stuck with having to put in passive speakers. You've got to buy passive speakers for those. So for the vast majority of the Sonos consumers out there who wants an all-in-one solution, that probably isn't something that they are going to be looking out for. Now the Beam Gen 3 though may be viable, but the Beam Gen 2 is already Atmos capable. So what is the Beam Gen 3 going to bring to the table? Unless the Beam Gen 3 has the ability to cast out individual channels to extra Sonos speakers. So imagine it is like Sonos Sequencer. If you don't know what Sonos Sequencer is, it allows you to cast left and right channels to the left front and the right front speakers, new speakers, and I've been using the picture frame. Check out this video that I've done here and you can see how it actually can increase the enjoyment and widen the soundstage of your Sonos soundbar tremendously. So if the Sonos Beam Gen 3 has the capability to do that, it kind of duplicates the functionality of the Pinewood TV streamer. Because the Pinewood TV streamer, it was supposed to be like a HDMI hub of sorts. So you are then able to use that in between your TV and your source, and you will be able to pass out the sound left channel, right channel, center channel, surround channel, Atmos channel into different Sonos speakers. Now, I do have ceiling speakers mounted. Those are the Sonance speakers connected to my Sonos M. I've actually cut a holes in the ceiling just to mount those speakers because I thought that, you know, maybe a couple of years ago, Sonos was going to allow us that functionality, but so far it has not come out. So Sub Mini Gen 2, nah. M Gen 2, maybe not. Beam Gen 3, possibly, if they allow that functionality. But the most important is the Pinewood TV streamer. If Pinewood TV streamer does release, that will be the big story of the year. Now Sonos, I hope you are taking your hands off the steering wheel for hardware releases because you're trying to make sure that everything launches perfectly, everything is good from day one. and not like the software problem from the S2 app when you were trying to rush out the Sonos Ace headphones, right? Because that caused a huge problem and it kind of caused consumers to lose faith in your brand. Yep, take your time maybe, but don't make us wait too long. I am really looking forward to the TV streamer. Okay, so that is most of what I have for today. Now, I wanted to address one point. Now, some of you may not have seen videos from me within the last 1 month or so. Now, because life kind of got in the way. So 4 weeks ago, I made a trip down to Malaysia. I went on a work trip and then I followed it up to go to Genting Islands for some leisure time off. By the time I came back, 3 weeks ago, my grandmother passed away and I had to attend to that for another week or so. And I thought I'll be able to get back to my video and get back to work. But unfortunately, I had a bad back. Something happened to me and I was bedridden for a while. So for 2 whole weeks, I was out of action, which brings us to today, right? So it is not just because Sonos has nothing launched and I'm not releasing videos. Personally, a lot of things got in the way. If you have made your way this far in the video, thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Anything new from Sonos, I will cover this. And if you are dry and you're looking for something on Sonos, check out one of my videos here. And I'll see you in one of those videos, if not for a new product launch from Sonos sometime soon.